Picture this. It's Tuesday, 6 a.m. Birds are chirping, sprinklers are hissing, and somewhere in the distance a $1,200 espresso machine is steaming milk for a stay-at-home dad who insists almond milk foam is art. Meanwhile, I, Marcus, the neighborhood's newest chew toy, am standing in my driveway watching a tow truck hook up what the HOA has lovingly labeled junk. And who's standing there supervising? Diane, the HOA president. Arms crossed. Smile tighter than a Botox appointment gone wrong. She's glowing like she just cured suburban blight. Neighbors are peeking out of their blinds. Some in pajamas, some clutching coffee mugs. For them, this isn't Tuesday morning. This is Netflix Live, baby. HOA drama is their Tiger King. The tow driver looks bored, like this is just another abandoned Honda Civic with 3 wheels and a dream. But what he doesn't know, what Diane doesn't know, what no one on this street knows, is that under that gray tarp sits a 1967 Ferrari 275 GTB. Street value? About $2 million. And just when they think they've humiliated me, just when Diane's about to crown herself queen of the cul-de-sac, I drop the bomb that flips the entire power structure of the Stepford neighborhood upside down. I don't just own the Ferrari. I own the land their houses sit on. Roll intro. You think that's wild? Oh, we're just getting warmed up. Because before we got to the $1 million mic drop, there was divorce, suburban politics, fake lawyers, and enough dog poop to fill a landfill. 6 months before the circus, my life imploded like a Jenga tower in an earthquake. 20 years of marriage, gone. The McMansion, gone. Half my retirement, gone. Custody of 2 teenagers who only acknowledge my existence when they need Uber money, also gone. So there I was. 48 years old. Middle-aged, newly single, and one inspirational quote away from becoming a sad divorced dad meme. I needed a reset. That's when I found Willowbrook Estates. Now, let me paint this picture. 847 homes. Price tags between $800,000 and $2.3 million. Gated entrance. Lawn so perfect you'd think Photoshop did the landscaping. You can smell the money as soon as you drive in, a mix of fresh mulch, overpriced lavender candles, and generational wealth. It was the kind of place where everyone drove a German car. Audi if you were practical. Mercedes if you wanted to flex. Porsche if you were overcompensating. BMW if you wanted to remind the world you don't use turn signals. I didn't care about the neighbors though. I wasn't moving for the community or the manicured hedges. No, what sold me was that 3-car garage. See, my Uncle Raymond had passed away the year before. Eccentric guy. Sharp businessman. And he left me his pride and joy, a beat-up dusty seen better days Ferrari. Looked rough, but under the hood? It was museum quality.
Uncle Raymond usait tout elmeux. Marcus, real value id in plain sight.
People only see what they expect to see. And boy, Diane was about to prove him right. But first, let's talk about Willowbrook itself. Because if you've never lived under an HOA dictatorship, association, you don't know what suburban war truly feels like.
Willowbrook was not a neighborhood.
It was the capital from the Hunger Games. Rules.
Rules everywhere.
Grass must be exactly 3.5 inches tall. Mailboxes must be approved from a 3-option catalog. Trash cans visible for more than 12 hours? That's a violation, buddy. And heaven forbid you own something that isn't a German SUV or a midlife crisis convertible. The soundtrack of the community? Leaf blowers, tiny yappy dogs that cost more than used cars, and passive-aggressive whispers that cut off the second you walk by. HOAs love to sell themselves as protecting property values. What they're really doing? Running a petty power Olympics where whoever clings hardest to the rulebook wins.
Ante Diane Blackwell.
52. Yoga pants without a bead of sweat. Blonde bob sharp enough to slice deli meat. Drives a BMW X7 like she's leading a parade. President of the HOA 3 terms in a row. Why? Because no one else in the neighborhood had the energy to fight her. And me? I was the new guy with a tarp-covered car in the driveway. Which, in Diane's mind, meant open season. And let me tell you, her opening move? A masterclass in fake-friendly HOA warfare. Grab some popcorn. This is where the real battle begins. If Willowbrook Estates was a kingdom, Diane Blackwell was the self-crowned monarch. Not elected by love, mind you. Oh no. Diane was the kind of leader who thrives because everyone else would rather fake smile and avoid eye contact than challenge her. Think of the kind of person who brings homemade cookies to the HOA potluck, but they're still in the grocery store container with the sticker half peeled off. That's Diane.
Des trilles in Willowbrook, I get the infamous welcome wagon knock.
I open the door, and there she is, teeth bleached bright enough to signal ships, perfume strong enough to fumigate termites, and a clipboard clutched like it's the U.S. Constitution. Marcus, she says, syrupy sweet.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Just wondering about that vehicle situation in your driveway. Translation: that tarp looks tacky, and I don't like it. I explain, it's a classic car, temporarily covered until I can arrange proper storage. She nods.
Tight smile.
The kind of smile that says, bless your heart, but I already hate you. Then she slides me a paper. Unofficial notice. Not legal, but threatening enough to make most people cave. She tosses in a line about community standards, and how we have an image to protect. It wasn't about the tarp. It wasn't about the car. It was about control. And Diane? She lived for it. But see, Diane didn't realize I'm not the rollover type.
He did what most neighbors don't.
I actually read the HOA documents.
And what he found?
Oh, it was about to make her vanilla candle courtroom very uncomfortable. 2 weeks later, I get a certified letter, emergency HOA meeting. 48-hour notice. Location? Diane's house. Let me tell you, nothing says intimidation like staging a kangaroo court in your granite countertop kitchen. I show up. Vanilla candles everywhere, the kind that scream covering up bad energy and old resentment. For board members lined up behind her island like they're the Supreme Court of suburbia. One lone chair for me. She slides a manila folder across the counter like she's unveiling the Pentagon Papers. Inside, Ring doorbell screenshots of my driveway, a few cranky emails from neighbors, and a Zillow printout that she probably Googled 10 minutes before. Property values are at risk, Diane declares. Children are asking questions. Children are asking questions? About a tarp? What is this, a Hardy Boys mystery? Now here's the thing about HOA bullies. They assume you don't know your rights. They assume you'll nod, apologize, and bend. What Diane didn't expect was that I came armed. I pull out my own folder. Thick. Crisp. Every single HOA covenant, highlighted and cross-referenced. The sound of it hitting her granite countertop? Music. Show me the specific violation, Diane. Blink. Silence. Board members shifting uncomfortably, like kids who forgot to study for the test. I point to section 4.27, covered vehicles? Allowed for up to 30 days. Section 6.1.3, written notification required before any violation. Where was mine? Suddenly, her kangaroo court turned into intro to legal studies with Professor Marcus. One board member clears her throat, maybe we should table this. Translation: this guy knows the rules better than we do. Diane's face? A kaleidoscope of frustration. Victory for me. Temporary. Because when people like Diane get cornered, they don't retreat. They reload. And her next round? Forget violation notices. She went full-on petty warfare. We're talking poop, gossip, and a fake lawyer straight out of a strip mall. The morning after my little legal win, I step out onto my lawn and what do I find? 3 piles of strategically placed dog poop. Not random. Not accidental. One right by the walkway, one smack in the middle of the grass, and one near the mailbox like it's marking territory. Attached to my mailbox is an anonymous note, trashy car for trashy people. Charming. Next came the gossip. Suddenly, I'm the villain in Willowbrook. Conversations stop when I walk up. Garage doors slam when I drive past. It's like living in a low-budget reality show where everyone voted me off the island. But Diane wasn't done. Oh no. Enter her brother-in-law, Brandon, allegedly a lawyer. Except he looked more like he practiced in the discount strip mall next to a vape shop kind of firm. Polyester suit, drugstore cologne, briefcase held together with duct tape and prayers. He corners me at my mailbox one evening. Diane hovering behind him like a proud stage mom. Brandon clears his throat like he's about to deliver the Gettysburg Address. Sir, multiple residents have expressed safety concerns about your vehicle. Potential insurance implications. You have 72 hours to remove that cover or face legal action. He hands me a letter. Official looking, until you realize it's clearly a Google Docs template with Times New Roman font. Here's the knowledge nugget. HOA bullies love fake legal muscle. But authority requires board authorization. Brandon had none. So what did I do? I researched. Turns out Brandon specialized in DUI defense and real estate closings, badly. 2.5 stars online. Reviews complained he missed court dates and never returned calls. I contacted the actual HOA attorney listed in my purchase documents. And guess what? Brandon had zero authority. Zilch. His threats were as worthless as his suit. The next day, I show up at Diane's door with my real lawyer on speakerphone. Her smile? Cracked. Her eyes? Flickering panic. Because she knew she'd been caught bluffing. And that was just round 2. But here's the thing. This wasn't just about one Ferrari under a tarp. Diane's game wasn't about aesthetics. It was about profit. And when I uncovered her racket, that's when this suburban soap opera turned into a full-blown thriller. By this point, I knew Diane wasn't just a control freak with a clipboard. She was running a side hustle. One afternoon, I spot her showing a house 2 streets over. Realtor blazer, too much perfume, a smile plastered on like bad wallpaper. Normal, right? Except I overhear her pitch. Lovely neighborhood, but we do have some unfortunate new additions affecting the aesthetic. Translation? Me. And then it clicks. Diane's game wasn't about protecting property values. It was about flipping them. She'd target homeowners she didn't like, harass them until they sold, then cash in on the commission when she resold their homes. Classic HOA mob tactic. Run them out, line your pockets, keep control. It wasn't about my tarp. It wasn't even about the Ferrari. It was about business. And I was bad for business. But here's where the story flips. While Diane was scheming, I stumbled on something in Uncle Raymond's old files that made my jaw drop. Because if you thought this was just about a Ferrari, buckle up. Uncle Raymond left me more than a car. He left me the nuclear codes to Diane's little empire.
One night, I'm digging through a box of my uncle's papers.
Old contracts, business records, cigar smoke still clinging to the folders.
End buried deep, I find a fil labeled Willowbrook Développement, 1987.
Now, my uncle wasn't just a car guy. Turns out, he was a real estate shark. In the 80s, he bought up farmland that eventually became Willowbrook Estates. And through his company, Meridian Holdings LLC, he kept a controlling stake, 67% of the land. Let that sink in. Every
single house, every manicured lawn,
every community standard enforced by Diane, sat on land my uncle owned. Which meant when he passed away, that stake came to me. Uncle Raymond had been cashing ground lease payments for decades. I'd been unknowingly collecting $127,000 a month in rent from these very people, including Diane.
My Ferrari was not my real inheritance. Willowbrook was.
I didn't just own a car. I owned their block.
It me like a freight train. All those smugglers?
Those violation notices? Diane had been harassing her own landlord. And the beauty of it? She had no clue. And if you think that revelation was good, oh, you're going to love what happened next. Because the very next morning, Diane tried to tow my Ferrari. And that's when I went from neighborhood villain to legend. It's Tuesday, 5:47 a.m. I wake up to the sound of a diesel engine outside. I peek through the blinds. A tow truck is backing into my driveway. And there she is.
Diane.
Clipboard in hand. Craig, her husband, filming with his phone like it's an episode of Cops. The tow driver approaches my covered Ferrari, chain rattling. Neighbors' garage doors start opening.
One by one, people pour out to watch the spectacle.
This was the Super Bowl of petty suburban warfare. I step outside in my bathrobe, coffee mug in hand. Calm. Collected.
Smiling like I've been waiting for this moment my whole life.
Morning, folks, I say cheerfully.
Beautiful day for Grand Theft Auto. The tow driver blank.
Sir, I have HOA authorization.
Mein Deficit.
I ask. He hands me a flimsy work order signed by Diane. I take a long sip of coffee, savoring the tension. Then I stroll over to the Ferrari. Since you're all so concerned about property values, I announce loudly, maybe you'd like to see what's under this tarp. The crowd leans in.
Keys whisper.
Phones rise. Everyone's holding their breath. With one smooth motion, I pull off the cover.
The morning sun hits the scarlet paint like a spotlight. Chrome wire will gleam.
Every curve screams Italian perfection.
A collective gasp ripple through the street. Déteste a Ferrari, Someone whisper. The tow driver whistle slow. Déteste a real Ferrari. I'm not touching a $2 million car, lady. Diane's smile collapse.
Rage replaces smugness. Craig lowers his phone. The neighbors who froze me out weeks ago suddenly look like they want to crawl into a hole. How much is it worth? Someone calls out. I pull out the appraisal papers.
$2.1 million.
The tow driver immediately unhooks the chains. Nope. Not today. He packs up, muttering something about liability insurance not covering Ferraris. Meanwhile, the kids are begging their parents to let them touch the car. The crowd's energy shifts.
Sympathie evaporate for Diane. Andy, I'm standing there, Ferrari shining, Neborgo king, sipping my coffee like a suburban bon vilain.
And just when Diane thinks the humiliation can't get worse, I drop the real bomb. By the way, Diane, you've been trying to tow your landlord's car.
Silence.
Pure, stunned silence.
Phone come up again. Google search start happening in real time.
And for the first time since I moved to Willowbrook, Diane looks powerless. Now, that moment would have been sweet enough. But the real fireworks? They came when Diane tried to fight back at the HOA board meeting. Spoiler, it didn't go the way she hoped. Fast forward to the emergency HOA board meeting. The community center smells like industrial carpet and burnt coffee, the universal fragrance of bad decisions. Diane's up front, radiating smugness like it's a cologne. PowerPoint ready, slides full of cherry-picked screenshots of my Ferrari. She's pacing like she's about to accept an Oscar for best performance in weaponized pettiness. She launches in. Residents, we must act. This man is disruptive. His vehicle is a menace. Property values are at risk. Children are asking questions. I'm sitting in the back, sipping my water, phone recording everything. Virginia's a one-party consent state, in case you're wondering. She calls for a vote. She's even stacked the room with proxy residents, friends, cousins, random people who probably thought they were attending free pizza night. She thinks she's won. The votes roll in. Majority for Diane. She smirks, declaring, motion passes. Effective immediately, daily fines of $50 for non-compliance. That's my cue. I stand up. Calm. Steady. The metal chair scraping the floor echoes through the room like a gunshot. Diane, I say, before you fine me for covering my Ferrari, maybe you should take a look at these. I open my briefcase and start laying out documents, corporate filings, notarized deeds, lease agreements. Thick, official, undeniable. Every home in Willowbrook Estates sits on land owned by Meridian Holdings, LLC. I am the managing owner. Which means... Pause. Let the silence stretch. All of you are my tenants. Including you, Diane. Gasps. Murmurs. Phones come up. Neighbors flip through their own deeds, eyes widening as they realize the ground lease clause they never bothered to read. Diane sputters. This is a fraud. A scam.
Maria, my attorney, step forward.
Cool. Composed. Actually, it's legally valid. Certified filings here. Diane, you've been harassing your landlord while embezzling HOA funds. That's a violation of state law and your own bylaws. The room shifts.
The tide turn.
Diane looks like she's about to faint, while Craig stares at the floor, suddenly very interested in his shoelaces. And just when you think it couldn't get juicier, the news vans show up. Because if there's one thing local TV loves, it's a suburban scandal with a Ferrari twist. Enter Angela Torres, Channel 7's Bulldog reporter for HOA abuse stories. She strides in with her cameraman, microphone ready, that smile reporters wear when they smell blood in the water. She's been tipped off, not saying by who, and she's loving every second of it. "Mr. Reynolds," she says, pointing the mic my way, "is it true you own the land under this entire community?" "Yes," I reply, holding up the notarized documents like a trophy. "And yes, it's true the HOA president has been embezzling funds while harassing her landlord." The boardroom erupts. People shouting, neighbors demanding refunds, cameras flashing. The crowd isn't with Diane anymore. They're against her. Diane panics. She slams her hand on the podium. "This is all lies. He's manipulating you." Angela pivots like a pro. "Mrs. Blackwell, would you care to comment on the $94,000 in HOA funds missing from community accounts? We've obtained records showing inflated maintenance contracts linked directly to your business." Boom. Direct hit. Diane's face drains of color. Craig whispers something, tugging at her sleeve. She jerks away, shrieking, "This isn't over. I'll sue all of you." Neighbors boo. Phones record. The camera zooms in. She storms out, Craig scuttling behind like a defeated henchman. And just like that, the HOA queenpin of Willowbrook crumbles on live TV. But downfall isn't just losing power. It's losing everything you built on lies. And Diane? She was about to learn what foreclosure papers smell like. Within a week, the fallout is nuclear. The board calls an emergency vote of no confidence. Diane is removed as president, 51-1, with Craig abstaining because he was already halfway out the door. The HOA's books are audited. Sarah, my forensic accountant friend, presents her findings: $94,000 siphoned through fake consulting contracts, kickbacks from landscaping crews, inflated maintenance fees. Neighbors are furious. Petitions fly. Refunds are demanded. A class action lawsuit looms. Meanwhile, foreclosure notices pile up on Diane's kitchen counter. Turns out her real estate empire wasn't thriving, it was circling the drain. 3 months behind on her mortgage, commissions drying up, and now a Channel 7 news segment branding her the HOA president who tried to evict her landlord. Craig. He's suddenly Mr. Quiet, spotted in the neighborhood walking his dog alone, muttering about just following orders. Rumor has it he's sleeping in the guest room. And Diane? Vanished. House listed for sale. Reputation in shreds. Power gone. But the community? Oh, they rallied. They replaced Diane's dictatorship with actual transparency. New leadership. Open books. Monthly reports. HOA meetings that felt less like show trials and more like potlucks. And me? Well, let's just say the Ferrari went from junk to neighborhood celebrity. Kids begged to sit in it. Parents asked questions about classic cars. And every time I started that engine, it wasn't just horsepower. It was vindication. And the best part? This wasn't just revenge. It was a reset. Because what came next turned Willowbrook into something Diane never could have built, a real community. 3 weeks after Diane's implosion, Willowbrook didn't just recover. It transformed. The new board president? Sarah Martinez, a kindergarten teacher who actually cared about people more than power.
No BMW parade, no weaponized perfume, no fake legal threats.
Just a gavel and a smile that didn't look like it was carved from ice. First order of business, reimburse stolen HOA funds. Second order, financial transparency. Monthly reports, open books, community votes. Neighbors who once avoided me were now inviting me to barbecues. Kids who'd called my Ferrari junk were lining up to sit in the driver's seat for selfies. Even the dads who'd pretended not to notice me at the mailbox were suddenly big car guys. Funny how that works. But here's the real twist. Remember those lease payments I'd discovered? The $2.3 million sitting in my uncle's account? I didn't just keep it. I turned it into the Raymond Chin Memorial Fund. Every year, Willowbrook would award scholarships to local high schoolers pursuing engineering and business degrees. First recipient? Detective Jake's granddaughter, heading to Virginia Tech. Cue the standing ovation. We didn't stop there. An organic community garden sprouted where Diane once planned a residents-only dog park. Residents grew vegetables for the food bank. Kids learned where food came from instead of just fortnight loot drops. And then came the Willowbrook Classic Car Show. My Ferrari as the centerpiece, raising money for local charities. The irony? Diane once tried to tow it. Now it was paying for playground equipment. The neighborhood went from whispered conspiracies and frozen smiles to actual community spirit. And as Willowbrook healed, I realized something bigger. My uncle's gift wasn't just a Ferrari or some land contracts. It was a masterclass in patience, power, and timing. Tucked inside the Ferrari's glove compartment was a letter. Faded ink. Uncle Raymond's handwriting. It read, "Real victory improves everyone's situation. Patience over reaction. Preparation over emotion. Justice over revenge." That hit harder than Diane's worst violation notice. See, Uncle Raymond could have told me everything outright. He could have said, "Marcus, here's a $2 million Ferrari and the deed to Willowbrook. Go nuts." But he didn't. He made me struggle. He made me face off against someone like Diane. Because power without patience? That's just Diane with a clipboard. But patience with preparation? That's how you win wars without firing a shot. The Ferrari wasn't the prize. The land wasn't even the prize. The real inheritance was the lesson, that sometimes the best revenge isn't crushing your enemy, it's building something better in their place. And that lesson? That's worth more than any car. But let's not leave you hanging. Because if you ever find yourself face to face with an HOA dictator, I've got some knowledge nuggets that might just save your sanity and your bank account.
Here's what he learned in the battlefield of Willowbrook.
1. Read the covenants. Most neighbors never read the HOA docs they signed at closing. Diane counted on that. But once I knew section 4.27 by heart, game over.
2. Document everything. Vidéo.
Photos. Emails. Dog poop on your lawn? That's evidence. Fake violation notices?
Screenshot city.
HOA disputes are won with paper trails, not shouting matches. 3. Fake lawyers are everywhere. Anyone can print a demand letter. Authority requires board authorization. Always ask, "Show me the resolution."
9 times out of 10, it doesn't exist. 4. Follow the money.
HOA abuse usually isn't about aesthetics. It's about profit. Kickbacks, inflated contracts, resale commissions. Shine a light on the cash flow, and you'll find the rot. 5. Know who owns the dirt. This one's big. Most residents don't realize their house sits on leased land. A quick property search can reveal power dynamics no HOA president wants you to know about.
6. Média is your franc.
Local reporters love HOA scandals. They're relatable, petty, and juicy. One news crew can do more damage than a year of angry board meetings. 7. Revenge is sweet, but justice is sweeter. Diane's downfall was satisfying, sure. But the scholarships?
The garden? The car show?
That's the legacy. That's how you turn HOA wars into HOA wins. And that brings us to the big finale, because every story needs a call to action. And trust me, you're going to want in on this one. So here we are. 1 HOA war. 1 tarp-covered Ferrari. 1 power-hungry president who thought she ruled the block, until she learned she was renting it. Diane called my car junk. The neighbors whispered behind blinds. The HOA tried to fine me into submission. But in the end, the junk turned out to be a $2 million masterpiece. The new guy turned out to be the landlord. And the so-called queen of Willowbrook Estates turned out to be broke, busted, and booted. Now, here's where you come in. I want to hear your HOA horror story. Did your board ban pink flamingos? Fine you for the wrong shade of beige paint? Threaten to tow your car because it wasn't German enough? Drop it in the comments. Let's build the biggest archive of HOA ridiculousness on YouTube. Because here's the truth, these stories aren't just entertaining. They're warnings. They teach people what to watch for, what to push back against, and how to stand up when small-time tyrants try to act like emperors of cul-de-sacs. And if you got some value from this story, if it made you laugh, made you cheer, or made you want to finally dig up those HOA documents collecting dust in your filing cabinet, then smash that like button. It tells YouTube's algorithm, hey, more people need to see this HOA drama unfold. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next battle. Because trust me, This isn't the last time we'll expose the wild, petty, and sometimes jaw-droppingly expensive wars of the suburbs. Next week, we're covering the woman who discovered her subdivision pool actually belonged to her grandmother's estate. Spoiler, her HOA had been charging fees for a pool they didn't even own. Oh, it gets wild. Remember, knowledge is power. Patience is strategy. And sometimes the best revenge is not just winning, but helping your community win with you. The Ferrari's engine roars in the background, gleaming in the morning sun, no longer a secret under a tarp, but a symbol of victory. And as I drive off, let me leave you with this.
Another day, another HOA drama wrapped up.
If this story made you laugh, fist pump, or just shake your head at the madness of it all, like, comment, subscribe, because this
This is just the beginning.